Alrighty, y'all. Hello and welcome back. It is Friday. Hell, it's a second video I've done today because I'm just in a great mood. The weekend is here. I hope yours is going to be awesome. And we're taking a look. It's been a while, okay? We're taking a look at stuff, Americans are saying online. And it is, well, as you would probably expect, it's a circus. Easing into it here. Trust me, this is going to get crazier and crazier as we go along. First of all, everyone points out there's so many flags in the U.S. compared to other countries, and that's, probably true. You even get some different versions, like you would see here. Irish by blood, American by birth. Now, of course, not all Americans are like this. I think it's actually quite good to try and learn where your family comes from and what you're connected to, way back. But this is definitely a unique American trait. And I figured people that like to point out stuff like this would really appreciate this. Not only is it an American flag, but we have another American flag as part of the wings on an American flag. We have the Irish flag, Irish by blood, American by birth, of course. We have some sort of Celtic cross, patriot by choice. Yeah, told you. I refer to these patriots, and what I mean by them is this guy right here. This is the living, breathing example of an American patriot in a modern day. I'm sure they think America is the absolute best in the world ever in history of the universe. And you know what? That's their right. Good for them. This shit is for sale at Walmart, FYI. That doesn't surprise me, honestly. Or Temu, too. That could be it. I'm sure it's on there. Maybe a slightly worse resolution version. So, American then. Irish person. We absolutely hate like this. And next up, we have our typical American feature here where someone comments on someone's video or vlog and they're commenting on the prices. But little do they know that there's different currencies in different countries, right? Pretty common knowledge, you would think. But some people just can't grasp this, unfortunately. So you could see, if you actually watch the video, everything's in kroners, which is definitely not American dollars, you would think. $15 is insane, the American says. Not every country uses dollar, bro-tato chip. There you go, heavily ratioed, might I add. It's 15 Danish kroner. I'm probably saying that wrong as well. Forgive me. Okay, at least I know there's different currencies. So kroner is the European dollar. The American adds back. So they learn that it's 15 kroners, not dollars. And their response is, that's the European dollar. No, it's not. No way, bro. You can't be serious. Somehow they found a way to not only be wrong, but they found a way to be wrong twice. Kind of impressive. Imagine finding out the actual European dollar is worth more than their own dollar. Also, imagine when they find out that they didn't invent the dollar in the first place. And this one's funny, too, that a lot of people don't know that the dollar symbol, at least that we use here in the U.S., is used elsewhere, including in Mexico for pesos. That's the same symbol. There is plenty, if you're bored, there's plenty of posts where people go to Mexico and see, wildly different dollar amounts for things because it has that symbol, when in reality, the sign is showing pesos, and Americans they can't comprehend that. We've seen this kind of topic before, but this person might take the cake for just not understanding this at all. When I first learned about eggs being left out and not refrigerated all the time in other countries, admittedly, I was kind of fascinated by it, you could say, because I didn't know that. I, of course, have only had experience with eggs here in the U.S., but, of course, I realized that things are different. So once I learned that, I thought it was pretty interesting. This person's having trouble with this, though, because they're claiming that electricity in Colombia is so expensive that they can't afford to refrigerate their eggs. Yeah, that's how they started this out. First off, doesn't this risk the chickens incubating since they're not kept cold to suppress incubation? Second off, there's no way these are safe to eat. Who knows how long they've been sitting out? What are they going to do? How are they surviving? How are they eating eggs? They're all left out. They're crazy down there. I guess dozens and dozens and dozens of other countries are crazy too. Now, of course, the real explanation here, which we all knew, Americans only see washed eggs, which have to be refrigerated. Most of my brethren have no idea unwashed eggs can sit on the counter at room temperature. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Even if you have a local, farm that sells their own stuff, if you've ever had chickens here in the U.S., you would know this too. It shows how very not out there people have been when they think that the whole world refrigerates every egg all the time. Come on, man. Wait until they find out about Europe. Yeah, especially this part. And about the lack of added chemicals in eggs due to bad breeding habits in America. For America, it actually makes sense to wash the eggs because their production standards are so profit maximized that you probably shouldn't handle unwashed eggs there. Yeah, don't remind me. This comment is oddly kind of accurate, and I think it's very weird from my fellow Americans. They say every time Americans discover something different about another country, they assume it's because that country is poor. I've seen that. It's not, of course, that's not all Americans, but there's an alarming trend of a sizable amount online that kind of go to that they must be insufficient, poor, not intelligent. It's like, what? Things are different all around the world. It's not because they're poor. They actually think they're the only ones living in 2025 with the standards of living in a developed country. This next one is hilarious because they're taking something that, granted, Europeans and Americans do clash on a little bit and have some, conversation online about, but they're taking it completely too far and the wrong way. Completely. Please stop telling us to fucking walk everywhere. Yeah. So Diane L. Jarrett says, at the risk of pissing off every single person who lives in Europe on Threads, please stop telling us to walk everywhere. Americans who live outside of a big city cannot walk everywhere. Didn't you know that? How dare you guys not think when you talk to us? You have no concept of how big the United States is compared to Europe. Every single country in Europe would fit inside one of our states. Germany is the size of Montana. The entire United Kingdom would fit in the state of Oregon or Michigan. Dudes, we're not f***ing walking. You come here and walk. Yes, because when Europeans talk about the car-centric overload that is the U.S. and that Americans don't walk nearly as much as Europeans, they're clearly referring to, why don't Americans walk from California to New York? You guys are so dumb, right? Because they're referring to themselves, right? Like everyone walks from Berlin to London, right? I mean, that's totally normal. Obviously, being sarcastic. That's what this woman apparently thinks. Yeah, they're referring to actually, scenarios where walking would make sense. Cities, in specific regions of cities. Yeah, unfortunately, she didn't think this through. Because pretty sure most Europeans, I've seen are talking about very specific scenarios, like in cities, right? It's just easier to access trams, trains, easier to access walking within your own area, your own neighborhood. And that's a good thing, right? That's something we could try to apply to at least some areas here in the U.S., but unfortunately it seems to be too late as we're very car-centric and public transportation's not great and walkability is pretty low with exception of maybe a couple cities here. Europeans like to walk from London to Rome because distances are so short. One of the most popular, look at this, one of the most popular Sunday afternoon strolls in Europe. I've always dreamt of that. Yeah, a good old European, weekend tradition, walking from London to Rome. I'm so jealous, guys. That must be so beautiful. I, for example, always swim from the Netherlands to the United Kingdom. And from the beach, I walk to London. Distances are so short here in Europe. These are amazing. It's probably my American-centric brain, but why would a country decide to make a currency where 1 penny USD is worth 263 units? Vietnam uses something called dong. What can I buy with one dong? Can I even acquire one dong? Yeah, I almost unplugged my microphone there. My apologies. I'm sorry. I don't know how to react to something like this. Okay, I think we're still good. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with online. This is fellow Americans are. How can I defend this? I can't. Wow, this is a superior level of disconnection from reality. Right there. Comment of the day. Now, this one is hilarious. Okay, here the clown says, everyone hates Americans, but they all want to be Americans. They get a response. Yeah, no. No, we do not. Further driven home by, as an American, I can confirm I do not want to be an American. Yeah, this is more accurate in 2025 after the last couple decades of just going downhill and downhill and downhill compared to the 90s, the 80s, you know, we're in a bit of trouble around here. I could safely say not nearly as many millions and billions of people want to be Americans. Of course, there's some people that do. There's people that want to move a lot of different places. But let's not act like the whole world wakes up and just dreams of being an American, okay? That ship has sailed long ago. Oh, yeah, I sure want to have the privilege of declaring personal bankruptcy because of a broken toe. Abso-fucking-lutely. This is painfully accurate. Don't remind me. And now we ended on a doozy. Unfortunately, it's become very world known that... Well, a lot of government actions here, a lot of government people are just embarrassing, and we just seem to have one after the other of yahoos in the Oval Office, right? Our presidents are, well, I don't know how the hell they get in. I don't know where they come from. But here we go. This is like kind of unreal. Sometimes I just can't believe it's real life around here. So, I think we're all familiar with, the U.S. A lot of Americans are in debt, credit card debt, way too deep underwater on car loans and mortgages. And this was before this. This was already, right? For the last 10 years, stuff's gotten really expensive and out of control. And lots of people are in quite, a little bit of trouble. I guess the solution is this. If there was ever a shit Americans say moment, here it is. So our president has said with passion, with excitement, that he's, very smart for coming up with this new 50-year mortgage. 50-year mortgage. We're already kind of crazy with the 30-year mortgages, and those have been around for quite a while, right? Decades, okay? And that's bad enough when you can't... when people buy these big houses for quite, I feel like a lot of money, more than most people should be trying to afford, and they're locked in for 30 years. Oh, okay, that's something already. But to think that you could go a day over that is kind of mind-blowing to me. So we're going to break this down. 50-year mortgage, this is the state of the U.S. currently. I don't know how this is a good idea, but here we are. So let's see this again, okay? So if we actually look at multiple breakdowns, this is the first of many. So if you have a $400,000 house, right? 6% interest. Interest rates have gone back up. They were quite low a few years ago, but now they've crept back up. You're already paying $863,000 for a $400,000 house on your typical 30-year mortgage here in the U.S. Now, with Trump's 50-year plan, you're going to be paying $1.38 million. $1.38 million for a $400,000 house. It's going to take you 50 years of paying it. For most people, because they're not buying a house when they're 2, they're not buying a house when they're 9 years old, right? They're buying a house when if they're lucky, they're buying a house when they're 28 or 30. They're going to be paying this till their 80s, till they're in their 80s. Does that sound like a great plan? Anyone? Does that sound like a great plan? Anyway, that's $500,000 more interest than the 30-year plan, which is already long. What are we doing here? How is this a good idea? We're in a housing crisis. How is this solving anything? Let's look at some more breakdown. Here again, right? This is a 30-year mortgage. You have a $600,000 house in this instance. And by the way, these prices seem high, at least to me, knowing that houses never used to cost this much, at least near me. But unfortunately, just in the last 10 years, houses have skyrocketed in price. And now houses that used to cost literally $180,000, in my general area, now cost $400,000-$500,000. This is crazy, but true. Regardless, $600,000 house, 5% down payment. You got to come up with that. That's quite expensive. But that's only 5%, right? You get your 30-year mortgage at 6%. And, you see the breakdown here. You're going to be paying $3,400 approximately a month. But you add on taxes, of course, and home insurance, so you're really paying $4,000 a month. And unfortunately, after 30 years with all the interest and all this crap, you're actually paying $1.4 million, okay? So you're paying $1.4 million for a $600,000 house with the current 30-year mortgage and current rates. Now, this isn't even true, and I'll explain why. If you kept the same rate, it wouldn't be the same rate. There would be more of a rate if you went up to 50 years, but let's just say you keep the same rate. $600,000 house, same rate. You're going to be paying almost $2.2 million for this for this $600,000 house. Notice the payment only goes down to $3,000 even, and it was at $3,400. Okay, $400 a month. Yeah, it's something, but it's not a lot. It's not like it cuts your payment in half or something substantial, right? Who in the hell would want to save $400 a month, but actually pay almost $1 million more over 50 years? Double the amount of interest aside, if $400 a month is making or breaking your house purchase, you cannot afford it. Well said. I agree. I would love to really hear anyone who's watching this, wherever you're from. It could be here in the U.S., you could be European, you could be from South America, Asia, Africa, Australia, wherever. I don't know how mortgages work in different countries. I'm assuming there's some similarities and, of course, some differences. House buying as a whole, but this is just, I feel like this is crazy. And I feel like if I were to assume, which I could be wrong, but if I were to assume, I feel like most people, even outside of the U.S., their jaw would drop when they would see a 50-year mortgage as something that's just an option, period, but also celebrated. I mean, I just feel like it's crazy. I don't know how the banks would go for this. I don't know why buyers would go for this. I just don't get it. Let's do a final breakdown here, just so you can,
The
look at this.
50-year mortgage option now.
Okay. And how much is that going to save me per month?
Let me check. Wow, this is actually going to save you $275 per month. That's huge.
All right. Wow. And how much more interest am I going to be paying over the course of the loan?
Great question. I love where your head's at. Let me just do the math real quick. Roughly $475,000.
Thought so. How old will I even be by the time I get done paying this off?
Another great question. Let me just do the math because you'll probably have to refinance like 7 or 8 or 13 times. So you will be approximately 127 years old.
That's right.
I'm just not
you
sure
refinance.
that it's worth it.
I guess
Restarts the years.
that. Okay. But if it's any consolation, most of your loved ones are going to be dead by the time you're done paying this off anyway. So you won't even have anyone to enjoy a house with.
Are you serious? No, that's not a consolation at all. I don't think you know what consolations are.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, here's another way of thinking about it. We're all probably going to be robots in 50 years anyway, so this is all pretty much moot.
Actually, weirdly, that is a little bit of a consolation.
Great news. We actually have...
Welcome to the USA, everybody. 50-year mortgage is just rent at this point. Yeah, honestly, never thought I'd say that because I've always, I guess, bought the idea of being a homeowner in America is better than renting, but at this point, I mean, it's even before this, by the way, before this news cycle, just even with regular 30-year mortgages, the housing market's just gone so crazy in the last few years that renting is honestly the better option. You don't have to repair anything, or pay to repair. You don't have to pay for landscaping, for tools to maintain the house. Like, you know what I mean? It honestly is a better option now, which is just a wild thought. Homes are just a subscription now. Yeah, honestly, I hate to say it, it does. It sounds a little weird. Sounds like some freaky shit. It really does sound like a subscription. I mean, it feels like something you'd read in a freaky book or something. Yeah, I think we're going to end it with that one, guys. I mean, pretty funny collection, a little bit wild at the end there, but I mean, had to be mentioned. I mean, this is just insane. You just never know what you're going to read about the U.S., that's for sure. I hope at the minimum that you got a kick out of this and a laugh out of it. Perhaps in the future, I would like to learn how, purchasing homes and how that all goes in different countries, how it differs and how it, is similar. We've looked at homes before a little bit on how they compare, just how they're built and materials and stuff, and that was beyond fascinating. And I'd still like to do more of that. But yeah, any comments, on your opinions on this, and or anything you want to share about how purchasing a home typically would go, and how it's different than here in the U.S., I'm all ears. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. It is Friday. Have an amazing weekend, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. My name is Ian. You watch IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.